The first contestant, Kenny Ray Morgan, with the speech title, Wake Up Calls. Wake Up Calls, Kenny Ray Morgan.
People often ask me, Kenny Ray, why do you abstain from eating 4 hours prior to a speaking engagement? That's simple. 3 alliterated words. Bushes, baked, beans. Need I say more? The lessons those beans taught me on stage one day gave a whole new meaning to the familiar phrase, tooting your own horn. For that was my wake-up call to never leave home without that magical new pill. B, no gas. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, wake-up calls, what are they? I define wake-up calls as nature's way of warning us of imminent danger lurking on the horizon. They urge us to do something or to stop doing something else. My friend Jack would learn this the hard way, for after a night of celebrating, Jack woke up the next morning only to find a YouTube video of him dancing half naked on a coffee table, Gangnam Style. That embarrassing video was Jack's wake-up call to pay attention to his alcohol consumption. Paying attention would prove critical to a group of at-risk teenage boys. To help get them back on the right track, the Minneapolis Police Department conducted a week-long boot camp. I was called in to speak with them concerning dressing and acting like prospects rather than suspects. Let's go back now to that June 2008 boot camp and imagine you're seated nervously in an audience with 21 rough, rugged, and rowdy teenage boys as I began with a question. How many of you know that you have greatness within you? All hands flew up. I agree. But if you don't seek to discover what that passion within is, you're doomed to repeat your troubled past. Recently, someone wrote, Rosa Parks sat so Martin Luther King could walk. Martin Luther King walked so that Barack Obama could run. Barack Obama ran so that you could fly. But guess what, guys? You'll never fly with the eagles if you're continually scratching around with turkeys. Suddenly, someone shouted, Mr. Morgan, that motivation stuff is good, but it doesn't last. Johnny, you are absolutely right. Motivation is good, but it doesn't last. Neither does a bath. But you don't stop bathing, do you? You must continue to feed your minds with positive energy and take full responsibility for you. Speaking of taking responsibility, I apologize to you, for I feel I have failed you. You see, I was here before Snoop Doggy Dogg, Lil Wayne, and 50 Cent. And before you started wearing your pants below your butts and calling it sagging. Spell it, young men. They proudly shouted, S-A-G-G-I-N. You don't know who you are. Countless men and women had water hoses flushed up and down their bodies. Dogs sicked on them and literally beaten to death. all to ensure that you are afforded the same liberties and freedom as anyone else. Is sagging how you've chosen to express that freedom? Spell it again, young men. S-A-G-G-I-N. Remember, gentlemen, the world will tell you more about your limitations than about your possibilities. And if you buy into that premise, you become a volunteer victim. Perhaps that's why Harvard graduate Carter G. Woodson said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you will never have to concern yourself with what he shall do. And if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he'll seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, you never have to order him to go to the back door, for he'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. Spell it again, young men. S-A-G-G-I-N. People are using you and exploiting your intelligence, and you don't even realize it. Now, spell it backwards. You don't know whose you are. That was the most shocking wake-up call of their young lives. However, after that session, not only did their pants come up, but their attitudes as well. What about you? Are you giving your wake-up calls your full and undivided attention? After all, I truly believe a wake-up call is God's way of staying anonymous. Mr. Toastmaster.
Please observe 1 minute of silence. The second contestant, Man Jen Ng, with the topic, undeniable. Undeniable, Man Jen Ng.
I am an artist. And those are the words that can disappoint any parent. You see, Chinese parents, they're just like anyone else. They want their kids to become either doctors or lawyers or doctors. And it was the same in my family. I had those 3 professions to choose from. Unfortunately for them, there was something else I dreamed of doing. You see, even at an early age, I knew I was meant to be an artist. That's me. On a unicorn. I know. I have a gift. It was undeniable. But we don't always follow our dreams. Sometimes we never let the world see what we have inside. We hold it back and keep it in, and then we just do what's safe and practical. Fellow Toastmasters, contest chair, have you ever listened to what's inside? I was raised in a working-class family, and I was the youngest of 5 kids. My dad, he called all of us his Chinese Social Security. He even had nicknames for us. My brothers were called Roth and Ira. And me? Well, my name is Mun. What do you think that was short for? My dad, he wanted me to be a doctor so I could be rich and successful and take care of him in his old age. Unfortunately for him, I loved to draw. I don't know what it was. It was just something I felt inside. Have you ever felt that? Like there was something you always wanted to do with your life, and it felt as natural as breathing. For me, it was art. But to my dad, art was a dead end. The only artists that he ever saw were the ones on the street, the ones that tried to sell their work that people just didn't care. He didn't want that life for me. He had plans. Money, you're going to be a doctor. But Dad, I'd be miserable. Yes, a miserable doctor. Dad, how about I go to art school? He'd just turn and walk away. He never wanted to talk about art. I didn't know why. Until that day. I was at home just digging through my dad's old things when I found this. It was a self-portrait my dad had drawn when he was 17. The lines, the shading, that look in his eyes, it was beautiful. To be this good without formal training, it was a gift. I didn't understand. This old man, the one that works in a factory all day, the one that tells me to stop drawing, be practical, think about your future. He did this. I see the artist that he once was and the man he is today. What happened? I already knew what happened. He had my brother when he was 25, another one at 27, my sisters at 29 and 33, and me at 35. 5 kids. You can't support 5 kids by drawing. So I understood. I didn't want to make him mad anymore, and I didn't want to throw away everything that he had sacrificed. I never applied to art school. There's this moment in all of our lives when we have to decide to just grow up, be an adult. Isn't that what we do in life? Oh, when we were young, we let ourselves just dream all day. But as we get older, we force ourselves to wake up. But then a miracle happened. An art school called. They had seen my work, and they wanted to give me a scholarship. And I felt that thing inside me again. And so for the next 4 years, I secretly went to art school. So now, I have this skill. And I look at my hands, and I look at my father's. His are old now and calloused. He can hardly bend his fingers anymore, and they shake all the time. I don't know why. I'm not a doctor. But I could draw them, though. I could make those hands look young and strong again. I like when they supported 5 kids. And he looks at my hands, and I know what he's thinking. Man, how many kids can you support? In this life, there is something inside all of us that defines who we are. And if we never let it out, then we deny who we are. But some things are undeniable. I am an artist. My father, he's retired now. And his job, it is done. And do you know what he wants to do in his spare time? Man, do you think we can draw something together? My father is an artist. Fellow Toastmasters, what is inside you? What is it that you've tried to hold back? Just let it out. Because what's inside you, it is undeniable.
Please allow 1 minute silence. The third contestant, Sean Purvis, with a speech title, That's Cold. That's Cold. Sean Purvis.
How many of you remember your icebreaker? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you shaking? Were you terrified? I was shivering. I didn't want to say anything. People were looking at me. My father was in the room. Hey, Sean, say something. Say something at all. But I didn't want to say anything. And then the doctor slapped me. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and to everyone who's ever been abused by organized health care. Breaking the ice is hard. But I'll tell you a secret. I was raised to be an icebreaker. Let me explain. From the time I was very young, my father showed me one thing, and he showed me one thing better than anything else: how to speak to people. Didn't matter where we were. If you were within earshot, he would shoot from the hip.
Hey, what do you think about this weather we've been having, huh? Hey, you think the U.S. is going to take the gold in the Olympics? Can you believe we put an actor in the White House? Democracy fails us again.
And just as soon as I got old enough to start speaking, he dragged me kicking and screaming into a social experiment. I took a test in school.
Hey, Sean, get over here and say something about that test.
I took a test, and it was hard. A little bit later, I started learning Spanish.
Hey, Sean, how about you come over and say something in Spanish to this native Spanish speaker?
Yo quiero Taco Bell? Even when I started dating,
Hey, Sean, how about you get over here and say something to this nice young lady? Tell her that thing I told you.
Dad? Hi. How much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice? He kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, and I'll never forget the first time I spoke to a crowded room, and he wasn't even there to support me. I can't blame him, though. After all, it was his eulogy. 19 years old. And my mentor is gone. I didn't want to say anything. See, as Toastmasters, we talk about breaking the ice all the time. It's the first thing we do. But what is ice? See, I believe ice is the fear of vulnerability. Every time you meet someone, you reach inside of yourself and you hold out your heart. And pretty soon, somebody comes along and smacks it down. And that hurts. Pretty soon, we don't even look each other in the eye when we pass. We start staring at our shoes until they've gone by. Have you felt the ice? See, in life, I think we start off pretty simply. No pain, no prejudice, no preconceived ideas. And pretty soon, we run into somebody. Hey, good morning. You ever say good morning to someone who looked at you like you just flatulated in a house of worship? That ice builds. A little bit later, you say, hey, buddy, can you give me a hand? And they walk away clapping. It gets colder. The first time you look at someone and say, I love you with all that I am and all that I will ever be. And they say nothing. It gets very cold. See, my father understood that this world is filled with ice and that it's so easy to shy away from relationships, and that's why he raised me the way he did. When you meet someone new, when you're standing in line at the store, do you speak? Or do you start staring at your shoes? I even love that one when you're passing someone in the street and you're so focused on where you're going, no one is around you. A few months ago, I moved into a new place, and I was so excited because I had a neighbor, and I wanted to meet my neighbor. I walked out in the morning, good morning, neighbor, and she said, buenos dias. Now, I can break the ice in English. So I started looking at my shoes. And all I heard was a small voice saying, hello, how are you today? She was offering her heart. And I was making it cold. And then I heard it. It's clear as day.
Hey, Sean, how about you say something in Spanish?
Hola. ¿Cuánto pesa un oso polar? How much does a polar bear weigh? You cannot control how people treat you. But do not let the pain of the past cast a cold shadow on your future. The next time you meet someone, the next time you have an opportunity, I beg you, take the moment, say something, say anything, break the ice.
One minute silence, please. The fourth contestant, Jenny Gates, with the speech title, The People I Meet. The People I Meet, Jenny Gates.
I love flying, except for the actual flying part. It can be so long and tedious. Fortunately, when it gets that way, I've got plenty of things on board to distract me. There's great movies, free wine, and interesting people. Unfortunately, some of the people I meet are a little more interesting than I would like. Contest chair, ladies and gentlemen, I was flying from Sydney, Australia to Winnipeg in Canada. That is a long trip, but that day was broken up into 3 interesting flights. On the first flight from Sydney to Los Angeles, I heard her before I even saw her. That put me up the back again. Too many people, I'll never get any sleep. Crying babies, there is nothing worse. Oh, I can think of something worse. Yeah, she was a complainer. And she sat right next to me, complaining about everything and yelling at everyone for the next 14 hours. On the second flight from Los Angeles to Vancouver, I spied with my little eye a hobo coming in my direction. Oh, he was a mess with his long, ratty hair, unruly beard, torn and tattered coat, old worn shoes, and a hat that, ugh. Nothing about him looked right and made me a little nervous. So I kept a close eye on him for the next 3 hours. Then shortly after takeoff on the final flight from Vancouver into Winnipeg, there was a calm, quiet voice over the intercom. Can I get some assistance back here? Now, given everything so far, I was really hoping it was the attendant looking for help with the drinks cart. But when I saw 3 attendants go back to help, I knew that something was wrong. And then I heard the words that nobody wants to hear at 35,000 feet in the air. I'm sorry, sir, but you can't get off the plane right now. Are you kidding me? When I looked back, there was some lunatic trying to open the rear hatch door of the plane. It took 20 nerve-wracking minutes for those attendants to get him back to his seat and then keep him there all the way into Winnipeg. Now, is anyone thinking, glad I wasn't on that trip? But what if I told you that the people you meet are not always what they seem? The complainer, an 87-year-old grandmother, traveling alone and terrified of flying. I'm sorry, dear, but complaining about everything and yelling at everyone is how I cope with the takeoffs and the landings and all that flying in between. Which is exactly what she told me when after 13 and a half hours, I accidentally said, "What is your problem?" The hobo, brilliant Canadian actor Donald Sutherland, traveling incognito and doing a very good job, I might add. Until right before we got off the flight, when he looked at me, smiled, said hello, and I knew. And then I followed him all the way out of the airport until I remembered I was supposed to be transiting to Winnipeg. Which brings me to the lunatic. A distraught family man who was told as he was boarding our flight that his wife and son had been killed in a car accident. I still wish the attendant had told me before I called that poor man a lunatic. When I found all that out, I was so disappointed in myself for jumping to conclusions instead of taking even one moment to listen, understand, or ask. But no, that day when I climbed onto my judgment pedestal, I made it all about me, about their relationship with me, when it really could have been about my relationship with them if I had taken one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is too easy to judge the people we meet by the way they speak, the clothes they wear, the things they do, or almost do. Now, sometimes we have good reason, and sometimes we are right. But for the most part, isn't this just a distraction that prevents us from seeing others for who they might really be? I think so. And while we can probably all agree that it's not easy staying off the judgment pedestal, let's keep trying. Because, my friends, I know firsthand that it will change the relationship we do have with all of the people we meet. Contest chair. Thank you.
Please allow 1 minute silence. The fifth contestant, Rebecca Cheng, with the speech title, The Truth About Dreams. The Truth About Dreams, Rebecca Cheng.
Mr. Contest Chair, ladies and gentlemen, do you have a dream? Well, so did I. When I was a little girl, my dream was to be like Bruce Lee. Basically, I wanted to learn a martial art, any martial art. So I walked up to my dad one day and I said to him, "Dad, please, may I learn taekwondo? No. May I learn karate? No. What about judo? No. Well, what may I learn then? You go and learn cooking from your mother. But it was like an itch that would not go away. That dream to learn martial arts and to ultimately wear a black belt. So I sought far and wide for a master who would teach me. And finally, I found one, a Hapkido master. And so I said to him, Master, it's my dream to learn martial arts. Tell me, can a person like me achieve the black belt? And Master said, the hummingbird with the heart of an eagle can soar higher than the eagle with the heart of a hummingbird. Hummingbird? Master, that is so profound that I don't understand. But what must I do first? Shall I do 100 punches, 100 kicks, or shall I break some boards? First, you sweep. Sweep in something. But Master taught me to reach up here. The first step begins from down here. So if he said run, I ran. And if he said sit-ups, I sat up. And if he said, give me 50, I gave him $50. 50 push-ups! Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted my black belt so badly that I trained, even when I was the only thing female in the class. And I trained even when my own mother said, girl, why are you doing all these unladylike things? Who is going to marry you next time? I'll be stuck with you forever. And I trained even though I ended up with dislocations, sprains. Getting hurt was not fun, ladies and gentlemen. But I learned that when our hearts want something so badly, there isn't a part of us that is untouched in that process. And that process may take 1 month. It may take 1 year. It may even take 10 years. Who knows? But for me, that process took nearly 10 years. And eventually, my master honored me with this. Behind this symbol of honor, ladies and gentlemen, are hours, days, months, years of training, of sparring, of falling down and getting up again, over and over again. But it was worth it. It was worth it. And friends, I found out this truth about dreams. Dreams don't come true by themselves. Dreams are not free. And dreams have a price. And that price is a 4-letter word called work. You and I have dreams. But are we working toward our dreams? Are we making time for it, sacrificing for it? Or are we still thinking about it? Do you know, Bruce Lee once said that if we spend too much time thinking about a thing, we'll never get it done. Wishful thinking gets us nowhere. In fact, there was this famous violinist by the name of Niccolo Paganini, who performed at sold-out concerts ever since he was a child. And one day, a fan went up to him and said, "Maestro, you are so great. How I wish I can play like you." But Paganini said, "Do you really wish to play like me? Are you prepared to practice 15 hours a day, locked up in a room? No fun, no friends, no parties, no holidays, every day for years and years. Are you prepared to play until your fingers bleed? And then play some more. If you are, then you will play like Paganini." Friends, is your dream like this, just floating about, going nowhere? If it is, let it go. Because the truth is, that dream is not your heart's real desire. But if your dream is your ultimate aim and ambition and the ultimate goal in your life, the very essence of your life, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's wake up and work for it. Mr. Contest Chair.
One minute silence, please. The sixth contestant, David Reed, with a speech title, "Give Your Gift." Give your gift. David Reed.
Say yes if you always like getting gifts. Really? Always? I think you only like getting the gifts you want. The real question is, can a gift from a friend change your life? 20 years ago, Jeremy Johnson gave me a gift that changed how I live every single day. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and friends, I often feel like Charlie Brown. David Elton Reed Jr.? What, Mom? Wah, 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 wah. When I was 8 years old, I became deaf in one ear. That is a fabulous excuse for anything you want to ignore. On the other hand, friends will make fun of you for being deaf long after it stops being funny. Hey, Reed, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That's Jeremy Johnson, my best friend. Growing up, when we weren't teasing each other, we were getting into trouble.
30 years later, my mother is still upset that Jeremy and I swore a blood oath to never wear fancy dress shoes. Jeremy and I wanted nothing more than to join the Marine Corps together. We took the physical fitness test together. We went to the medical review board together. Jeremy joined the Marine Corps alone. I was medically disqualified. Time and distance can be hard on a friendship. We tried to keep in touch. After boot camp, Corporal Jeremy Johnson shipped out to Iraq. As part of an anti-tank platoon, he was in the thickest fighting. Extreme exposure to depleted uranium, chemicals of a classified nature, and other battlefield toxins. Halfway through his second tour of duty, Sergeant Jeremy Johnson was shipped back, a decorated hero, to Walter Reed Memorial Hospital, diagnosed with leukemia. That same week, I flew out to visit Jeremy at the hospital. He knew I was coming, but he still looked surprised to see me. "Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing?" "Reed, that is a stupid question. I'm in chemotherapy. But hey, I woke up on the right side of the grass. And then I got a sponge bath from a pretty nurse. If I was doing any better, it'd be like I could hear out of both ears. I'm glad you came, but don't make fun of my eyebrows. Chemotherapy can make you lose your hair. All of your hair. Do you have any idea how surprised you look all the time with no eyebrows? I convinced the oncologist to let Jeremy out to get a pizza and see a movie with me. "Come on, Sergeant. No brows." The pizza was great. The movie was terrible. It was almost like we were still in high school. It was almost like Jeremy still had... "Reed, thanks for coming. The doc won't tell me how much time I've got left. I just wish I could get out to give more gifts to other people, like your visit." "What are you talking about, Jeremy? A little visit from me? Your service, your sacrifice, that's the real gift to me." "Reed, you don't understand. I gave my gift to millions of people who will never know my name. You still have time. Look around, find someone, give your gift." There are mornings I wake up and it doesn't feel like the right side of the grass. I feel like I'm surrounded by ice. I feel like it's my turn. I want somebody to give me something. Ever have days like that? Days like that, I remember Jeremy Johnson. Five Marines and I carried Jeremy's flag-draped gift to its final resting place. There were all 23 of Jeremy's years, wrapped up like a star-spangled bow, presented to his mother. 21 guns are not enough
to salute a gift like that. Can your gift to a friend change a life? Yes. Your gift could be a smile, a wave, a salute. Look around. Find someone. Give your gift. Mr. Contest Chair. Thank you.
One minute silence, please. The seventh contestant, J.A. Gamesh, with the speech title, Nothing to Change. Nothing to Change, J.A. Gamesh.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Not too long ago, I attended a seminar, and the seminar leader declared, "Ladies and gentlemen, you are perfect just the way you are. There is nothing to change." Today, I'd like to share with you my opinion about that statement. Well, first of all, if that's true, I have a confession to make. I'm not perfect. I know what you're thinking. He's not? Are you? Secondly, when I look at myself in the mirror, I can clearly see that there is something to change. I am not proud of who I've become. Oh, I don't hate myself. I'm like most people. Most of us feel that we have fallen short of our potential, that we should be more. Don't you agree? More successful, wealthier, be a better parent, have a better job, a better lifestyle. I want more fun, more fame, more money. I want to be somebody. Not that chubby guy I see in my mirror. There must be something wrong with me. That's what I hear in my head. Hey, you're not good enough. You're not interesting enough. Not educated enough. Not self-confident. Not top. Not slim. Not cool. Not sexy. Not pretty. Yeah, very not pretty. We listen to those voices, and then we try to improve. We try diets, we go to the gym, we buy self-improvement books, CDs, DVDs. We even attend seminars where they promise to reveal the secrets of the millionaires. But despite all our efforts, we have no idea how to truly change. And if we do, we have no clue how to stay that way. Not a clue. Because if we did, we would already be the person we dreamed of becoming. Don't you agree? Therefore, am I perfect just the way I am? It's hard to agree when I think of me. It's a lot easier when I think of others. For example, my wife. Last Valentine's Day, my wife Sylvie and I, we went to a restaurant. Oh, Sylvie was so excited. She couldn't stop talking. So I kept quiet. And I started to smile. When she noticed it, she said, J.A., what are you thinking? Well, sweetheart, could you make me a promise? To which she romantically replied, what? Sweetie, promise me that you will never change. What do you mean by that? Well, sweetheart, I love you just the way you are. You're not perfect, but you're perfect for me. I know I'm such a romantic. You are so beautiful inside and out. She went, oh. We held hands. Sylvie was touched, but hurting at the same time. Because you see, like most women, Sylvie doesn't feel beautiful. And that belief starts at an early age. It's scary to know how many teenage girls suffer from eating disorders because they're starving to hear 3 words. You are beautiful. Also scary to know how many teenage boys are convinced, like I was, convinced that they're worth nothing because they were not told enough, I am proud of you. Early in life, we stuff our backpacks with all those I am not good enough, and then we carry that weight into adulthood. No wonder we don't like what we see when we look at ourselves in the mirror. The standards we compare ourselves to are beyond our reach. We open a magazine and they tell us what is beautiful. They say what is success. It's crazy. It's time that we smash the glass we look into and turn our mirrors into windows. Windows open to the world. Windows through which we stick our head out and shout, I am what I am. I am my shortcomings and my qualities, my hopes and my anxieties, my failures and my victories. This is my stand. I am what I am. I learned all this from my mother. Mom often said, son, you are a fool. Why do you try to be like everybody else when you have the chance to be unique? She was right. In all the world, there is no one else exactly like you. You are one of a kind with everything about you that you like and dislike. And the day we forgive ourselves for not being that perfect person we dreamed of becoming, that day we start to celebrate our true nature. That day we begin to realize that we are perfect just the way we are. Ladies, you are so much more than this physical envelope. You have so much to offer. You are beautiful. And men, no, you're not beautiful. No, you are awesome. All of you, men and women, you are magnificently unique, and that's something to be proud of. Could you all make me a promise? Promise that you will stay this unique, amazing, imperfect person because you are more than enough. And there is nothing to change.
One minute silence, please. the eighth contestant, Paul Attali, with the speech title, The Treasure. The Treasure, Paul Attali.
I know this never happens to anyone here, but does anyone here know someone who wishes they had more time in the day? I think I know that same person. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Time is money." As a teenager, I took this lesson to heart. I learned how to maximize and manipulate my schedule throughout high school so I could have academic and athletic success. That meant getting up every day at 6 a.m., class till 2, sports till 5, coming home and finishing my homework. In my mind, I was a superhero. I called myself the Time Master. Like all great superheroes, I had a nemesis who was my kryptonite. He was born in Italy, but hid in my hometown of Toronto. He had a successful tow truck manufacturing company. Most importantly, he had a very relaxed, a very serendipitous, a very Italian sense of time. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, he was my father. My father, who conscripted me every summer to work in his shop during the week and in our garden on Saturdays. Our backyard became the battleground for epic encounters. Encounters that began like this. "Can I go inside now?" "No. You have to help me plant tomatoes." "But I have important things to do." "Son, only two things are important in a life. Number one, the time you spend with a family. 2, quality of lawn and garden." You laugh. I didn't share my dad's philosophy on life. I worked in his shop every summer throughout high school and college. Then one day, I accepted a job coaching football at St. Mary's College in Leavenworth, Kansas. I couldn't wait to book that first flight out of town, but Dad insisted that he drive me himself. Toronto to Leavenworth. Just me, Dad, and a lot of polka music. We got to my apartment, and it was disgusting. Cockroaches on the floor, broken bookshelves, light fixtures torn out. I thought it would take me 3 days to clean it all. Dad didn't flinch. He went to the car, grabbed the toolbox, found some cleaning supplies, and in only 3 hours, I had a very chic and sanitary bachelor apartment. When he was done, he looked at his work with pride and said, "I go home." Problem was, I didn't want him to go home. I couldn't tell him that. Luckily, I knew Dad's kryptonite. "Dad, why don't we get a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken? Watch some soccer." It worked. Dad could never resist a Colonel's Secret Herbs and Spices. He left the next day. I scheduled the next 5 years of my life to become the ultimate football coach. That meant I spent every hour I had in a weight room, in a film room, on a practice field, so that on Saturdays, we'd win football games. The fact that I was able to meet and marry my wife Sherry in that time, complete miracle. There's one victory I'll never forget. Homecoming, 2008. Fourth quarter, tie game, last play. Quarterback drops back to pass, throws it up in the air. Wide receiver gets under it, pulls it out of nowhere, brings it into the end zone. Touchdown! We win. I couldn't wait to come home and share the details with my wife. But when I walked through that door, Sherry wasn't smiling. "Your dad's been injured in an accident. He was T-boned. by some drag racers. They needed the jaws of life to get him out. He's going to have a long, slow recovery. I needed some air. So I went out to my backyard, and that's where I gazed at my dying yellow grass and the one scraggly tomato I had grown all year. And then I heard Dad's voice ringing in my head. All that matters in life is the time we spend with family. It dawned on me then that my whole concept of time was wrong. I saw time as a resource, but time is not a resource. Time is a treasure. It's a treasure we share with those that mean the most to us. That's why I moved from Leavenworth, Kansas to East Lansing, Michigan, so I could be close to Toronto the first chance I got. And it's going to pay dividends. 3 months ago, I became a father for the first time. I didn't do the hard work. Given that this child has my DNA inside of him, it is likely that at some point he will be a moody, obnoxious teenager or a driven, motivated adult. And to be completely honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. Being a father has turned my concept of time completely upside down. I now find myself holding my son Alessio for hours and letting everything else take the back burner. Because I realize now what I spend my time doing is not as important as who I spend it with. Who will you spend your time with? Who will you give that treasure to? These days, I'm lucky. Dad is nearby. And if I have a problem and I need a solution, I can give him a call. And he'll give me his advice, followed by a 30-minute home and garden lecture. You know something? Years ago, that would have driven me insane. These days, I am honored to receive such a treasure.
One minute silence, please. The ninth contestant, Henry Miller, with a speech titled, The Messengers. The Messengers, Henry Miller. Okay.
The messengers in our lives are everywhere. The good, the bad, and even the ugly. And they will appear to guide you when you are ready to listen to their message, to take your leap of faith. Mr. Contest Chair, guests, and fellow messengers, October 9, 1988 is a day I will always remember. On that day, my wife and I were at a Red Lobster in our hometown, Elmont, New York, celebrating her 35th birthday. It was our first evening out after the birth of our second child, Leisha. Our firstborn, Raj, was just 2.5. And I thought for 7 years of marriage we had it all. The beautiful home, the picture-perfect family, the black Cadillac, a beauty, the dog, Snowball, a husky. So I was surprised when my wife said while chatting over dinner, "Honey, I'm getting old. I need to find myself. I feel lost." Lost? How could that be? You're right here with me. I thought she was joking when she said, "Honey, let's separate." Separate? Yes. That day she was a messenger with a message, and I wasn't listening. And 1 month later, she was gone. Devastated, I did everything to hold the family together. But by August of the following year, I was one stressed-out single dad, struggling to balance my 9 to 5 with visits to pediatricians, babysitters. Unlike yesterday's dirty Pampers, my life was a mess. But sometimes it takes a mess to awaken your messengers. The first to awaken, my sisters. Now I have 7 sisters. And believe me, they're all true messengers. When you tell one of them your business, you just told them all. I confided in my sister in Tampa. And by the following day, I was receiving invitations from the sisters in San Jose, California, in word and in song, to come, bring the kids. Do you know the way to San Jose? And this went on and on until I surrendered. When they convinced me that it was okay to be not okay. And that a bend in the road is not the end of the road when you listen to your messengers. So I listened. But before leaving for California, I sat the kids down and made them promise that they would be on their best behavior. No jumping on auntie's beds like you do at home. They promised. 2 days into the trip, what were they doing? You guessed it, jumping. I said, "Guys, you promised." They said, "Dad, we are happy." Then little Miss Missy with her large, brown, beautiful eyes said, "Well, Daddy, why don't you go and get our beds? We can live here." So I asked, "Well, what about Mommy?" He said, "Daddy, we will find you a new mommy here." And at that moment, I heard voices echo in my head, out of the mouths of babes. Listen to the messenger. Listen. So I did. But leaving the kids in the care of my sisters and returning to New York alone was painful. Now a battle within me was raging over what to do next. Move to California and start life all over from scratch? I was losing my mind, my hair. But I never lost hope, because I was sure that my messengers would appear to guide me. And then it happened. One day, just as I was about to step into the elevator at work, a huge hand reached out to hold the door. And standing before me was my hero, the great boxer, Muhammad Ali, in the flesh, just when everyone was calling for him to retire. So I too chimed in with, "Champ, it's over. Stop!" He said, "No, you better stop." We laughed and began chatting about some of his famous battles. And I would realize that he was my messenger when he said, "In life we will always have battles to fight. We just have to learn to pick our battles." And at that moment, my battle within was over. And I was ready to take my leap of faith to find that new home, that new job, that new mommy in California. And 3 weeks later, I was on my way to San Jose driving, leaving all of my toys and comforts behind. Well, except for the Cadillac. And I would arrive in California at 4:55 on the day after the Loma Prieta earthquake. The earth was still shaking. I guess somebody knew I was coming. And I could only smile when the kids said, "Dad, get under the table here with us. Those aftershocks are celebrating your return. Joy was back in our lives." Oh, but the best was yet to come. Some 15 years later, when I found that new mommy at the gym, hot and sweaty. And today, she's my wife and most trusted messenger, to whom I always listen to. Fellow Toastmasters, there are times in your life when you will feel lost, but never lose hope. Always trust that your messengers will appear in your hours of darkness to show you the light. And that messenger may be a child, perfect stranger, one of your heroes, who knows? But what I do know is that when you listen to your messenger and you take your leap of faith, your life and the lives you touch will be transformed forever.
One minute silence, please. The 10 contestant, Marin Gamil Toyoma, with a speech title, "Perception is Everything." Perception is everything. Marin Gamil Toyoma.
By the time I was 25, I thought I knew my mother. For one, she was strict. Growing up, she always said, "Marin, if I ever catch you smoking, I'll go out and buy a pack of cigarettes, take you out back, and make you smoke every single one." Imagine my surprise when I discovered I didn't know my mother. I was 25. Mom and I were driving down the road when a Bob Marley song came on the radio. Mom turned to me and said, "This is such a good smoking up song." I remember those days. For the most part. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, that was not the only time I misjudged my mother and realized perception is everything. There was also the time when I thought my mom loved my sister more. Unlike me, my sister Myra is naturally funny, and I've always been a little jealous. I still remember the time when Myra told a story about feeding chickens. Myra said, "I threw the food scraps on the ground outside the chicken coop, and 3 chickens came out to eat. One chicken was missing. I peeked inside the top of the coop to see if it was in there. The fourth chicken was inside, and it was squatting and staring at me. Its eyes were scrunched, and it was turning its neck like this. I suddenly realized the chicken was laying an egg, and it was looking at me as if to say, "Can I have a little privacy, please?" Buck, buck. Myra can take any mundane moment and turn it into a fun story. And my mom loves Myra's stories. Over and over, Mom has said, "Myra is the life of the party. Myra is a social butterfly. Life would be boring without Myra." Myra, Myra, Myra. Sometimes I've thought, Myra's so much fun, surely Mom loves her more. Now, my family loves Christmas. It was Christmas 2006, and Mom and Myra were downstairs in the kitchen making pecan pies, the smell filling the house. I came downstairs to help, and I was about to enter the kitchen. I don't know what was said before, and I don't know what was said after, but all I heard was Mom say, "Myra, you're my favorite." I felt like I'd been slapped. I backed up. I went upstairs. I thought, well, that's it then. I let that moment eat away at me. I distanced myself from Mom and Myra. I found every excuse to put Myra down, to make her feel small. I hated myself for it. For 3 years, my only sister and I fought, until one day we somehow found ourselves sitting on the upstairs bed. I don't know how or why, but we started to really talk. Suddenly, Myra turned to me and she said, "Marin, sometimes I think Mom loves you more." What? Then she said, "Yeah, you should hear the way Mom talks about you. Marin is so smart. Marin is the reliable one. Marin has a PhD. Marin, Marin, Marin." All I could do was laugh and tell her, "No, I'm the jealous one." In that moment, I realized I had made a mistake. I misjudged my mother. Perception. You see, I spent a lot of time feeling angry and jealous because I thought Mom loved Myra more. What I forgot to focus on were all the ways that Mom showed how she loved me, uniquely and equally. Take the time in 2005 when I was living in London, and Mom came to spend Thanksgiving with me because I was feeling homesick. She got up early in the morning and spent all day cooking a full turkey dinner. Then she packed it up and leaving the entire family behind, including my precious little sister. She flew 8 hours across the ocean. When she got to London with a suitcase full of meat, at customs, she walked straight on through the nothing to declare line. When she got to my apartment, she opened up the suitcase, took out that turkey dinner, and then reached down and pulled out a beautiful cream-colored scarf she had hand-knit just for me. I wish I had back all those years I lost with Mom and Myra. I missed years of laughter, adventures together, a support system. But I learned a powerful lesson. When I'm struggling with someone, the first place I need to look for answers is inside. Because sometimes we just read people wrong, like I did with my mother. And now I know perception really is everything.
One minute silence, please. Now I'd like to invite all the contestants to please come up on stage. They all still look very serious, like the contest has not finished. I like to remind them the contest is over. It's fun time now. Okay, I'd like to conduct the interviews for the first candidate, Kenny Ray Morgan. Can you please explain to all of us where you're from, what district you are representing, and what is your club name?
I'm Kenny Ray Morgan from the Noontime Talkers, which is located in Minnetonka, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. And from District 6, Region 4.
Please tell your audience, what was your motivation for competing? What was your motivation for competing?
Essentially, my motivation for competing was I got a degree in accounting, and I just didn't get along. That's no dissing anybody that's in the numbers game. It just wasn't for me, and I had to find something else that I could really have a passion for. And it turned out to be speaking. And I love speaking. I love giving a message. I love sharing messages. And wherever I can give back and help, like I did to kids, going back to that essentially boot camp was something that I was really proud of doing, because when you give back, you feel like you have a purpose in life. And when you find your purpose in life, I do feel you find your passion, and I've certainly found mine.
Please give him a big round of applause. Second contestant, Man Jen Ng. Please tell us from where you're from, what district you are representing, and what is your club name?
I am originally from New York, but now I live in Lake Forest, California, and I'm part of the best club in Toastmasters. They are called Possibilities Unlimited, representing Founders District.
Please tell us, how did you come up with your speech title?
When I was writing this speech, this was actually part of my icebreaker. I wrote a 10-minute icebreaker. And my mentor said, cut it in half, use the first half. And the second half became this. And as I was writing it, the word undeniable just jumped out at me, because that's how I felt inside.
The third speaker, Sean Purvis. Please tell us, where are you from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name?
Thank you. I'm from Florida. Florida. Originally from Baltimore, that's why I say Florida. I'm representing District 48.
Whoa.
Everything's great in 48. And My home club is the Palm Harbor Toastmasters.
Please tell us, where did you find inspiration for your speech title?
I have often said, and I'll say it again, that life is my greatest teacher. And the speeches that come are often the hardest moments in life. And when you are rejected or when someone looks down on you, it's an inspiration, especially when the next person treats you like a king. And that's where the inspiration came from. Thank you.
The fourth speaker is Jenny Gates. Jenny Gates. Please tell us where you're from, what district you are representing, and what is your club name.
I am from Winnipeg in Canada. I am representing District 64, and my home club is called Peak Performers.
Please tell us, how has your home club helped you in your preparation for this semi-final speech?
I think rather than single out the club, because you always start with the club and the club will always be there to help you. There's always people willing to listen and to advise you. But what happens when you get to this level is that it extends way beyond the club. The club becomes the area, becomes the division, becomes the district, and everybody gets on board. So you get a lot of people giving you support and encouragement. And if it wasn't for all of that, well, then we wouldn't have much of speeches when we got up here on the stage.
Thank you. Fifth speaker, Rebecca Cheng. Please tell us where you're from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name.
I'm from Sarawak, Malaysia. I'm representing District 87, and my club's name is Hornbill City Toastmasters Club. Well, they're not here today, so I'll do the shout-out myself. Woohoo!
Please tell us, how has Toastmasters impacted your life?
Oh, it has helped me to talk more at home, and it has helped me to be more outspoken, to believe in the message of what I speak about, and that when I speak, I hope that the message touches people's hearts. So I think that applies for a lot of things in life. Thank you.
The sixth speaker, David Reed. David, please tell us where you're from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name.
I currently live in the Seattle area. I'm representing District 2. I am representing Toastmasters Extraordinaires.
Please tell us, what advice would you give to our members who have never competed in speech contests?
Compete. Find that speech that you're terrified to give. The one you can't talk about without crying. Give us that gift.
The seventh speaker, J.A. Gamachi.
Close enough.
Please tell us where you're from, what district you're representing, what is your club name.
I am from Ville-Laval, which is a suburb of Montreal, Canada. I represent District 61. Yeah. And I go to a French club named Les Dynamiques de Laval.
What advice would you give to members who have never competed in speech contests?
Compete. Sorry. Actually, yes, that's right. Compete. It's the fast track of learning and communication. You do a speech, and then if you're lucky enough, you win, and then you practice again, and you own your speech, and you get to lose and go overtime and try and have those loss of memories. All the things we should learn to go over to become a true speaker. And then one day you realize that it's an enormous opportunity to stand here before you, to give you the message that comes from my heart, and especially nowadays that it's on internet, that we can reach thousands. So yes, speak and put yourself out there at risk. Thank you.
The eighth speaker, Paul Attali. Please tell us, where are you from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name?
So I'm currently living in Okemos, Michigan, part of District 62. I'll say, you guys are somewhere there. My home club is MSU Simply Speaking at Michigan State. Go Green.
Please tell us, how does speaking in front of a large crowd affect your performance?
It supercharges my performance. I love it. I'm freaked out by 3 people in a room, but give me a large crowd. I think it's great. I also think it's a different type of timing. It's a different type of growth, and you really you learn to work a room in a really different way. And every time in front of a large crowd, I just feel like it elevates me. It gets my adrenaline pumping. And I'm a high energy guy to start with, so it just takes me that next level. It makes me a better speaker.
Fantastic. The ninth speaker, Henry Miller. Please tell us where you're from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name?
I'm from San Jose, California, District 4, Region 2, and I'm representing Point of Order, club number 6028.
Please tell us what made you join Toastmasters.
Oh, well, when my boss first asked me if I would go to a meeting with him, I said sure. But when I got to the door and I saw Toastmasters, I told him, sorry, I don't drink. He said, oh no, you're not going to get out of this so easily. So I stuck with. I went in and I caught a fever. And I have been, this is more than over 15 years ago. And I have gone through, it has virtually changed my life. When I was going through the issues I dealt with in the messengers, Toastmasters was my saving grace. It gave me an opportunity to get some of that hurt that was built up inside of me. In my speeches, the humorous speeches, eventually I saw humor in it all. It virtually saved my life. So Toastmasters now is a great part of my life.
The 10th speaker, Marin Gamil Tuyama. Please tell us where you're from, what district you're representing, and what is your club name?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Representing District 18. And I'm with Maryland Advanced Speakers.
Do you have any lucky charms or good luck rituals you do before giving a speech?
I don't really have any rituals, but I always wear something that my sister picked out for me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So friends in Toastmasters, can we all give them a big round of applause for their efforts, for putting up a very good show for all of us. Thank you. I think this is the moment you are waiting for. The results are in my hands already. First, there was no disqualification for time. Now, for the third place winner, drum rolls please. The third place goes to Sean Purvis. The second place goes to drum rolls please. Second place winner is David Reed. Now, for the first place winner, drum rolls once again. The first place goes to Marin Gamil Tuyama.